Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me. As you can see, I'm in a meadow today, but what I wanted to talk about was hidden dangers while gardening. So here we go, going down the steps, being sure to hold on. I slipped a bit there, but you know, you do have to think about where you put your feet on garden surfaces, especially stone. That looks like an accident waiting to happen, doesn't it? Which is indeed why these have been put in. Now, because these are so uneven, it's very hard to get the moss off. And we do work organically here, so no chemicals. There is no water supply because this is off-grid, and without having really long hoses from the water butts. So the one thing to do is keep it clean. But steps like this, uneven steps that slope downwards, are very dodgy. So when you're gardening, be aware of the places where people walk. So you kind of have to think how it would be for them living there, not how it would be for you living there, because I know gardeners would do a whole load of different things to what the people do that live there. All the ferns are wanted, but we try and keep them minimised, as well as overhanging because of ticks. So, but this is certainly a hazard. I mean, I myself have slipped there a couple of times. It only takes once to badly injure you, doesn't it? So, you know, you've got to be aware of these things. And while we're here, let's show you something else. Now, if you've got decking, it does get wet and it can get slippy. So one of the things to do is to put wire down, and that stops the slipping, which is, I mean, instantly it's great. It's really good. How's come that's fogged up? Now this perfectly shows off what overhanging roses can be like. Look at these, perfectly positioned to take your ruin your waterproofs if you're wearing lightweight ones like I have to. You can't wear heavy ones and do heavy work. It's not possible. But if I'm right, I think this is a Wickwar rose, if you're interested. Well, many hidden dangers are actually in the ground. So there's one, that's a pipe. It's carrying water, this one, but it's not any pipes, it's anything that may go downhill, like a tree root or a sunken branch, or any kind of cylinder that runs downhill for some reason. Because while you're concentrating on doing things, you may not be looking at the ground, and you put your foot on it and way, you're on the floor, which I did do, luckily missing some nasty rose thorns. It was a big pile of roses. Now another danger is arching branches like this, again of rose, but especially if you've got waterproof on or a hat, you may not see this because the hat can cover and not show you where you're going, but also you're looking at the floor and whatever. So it's always a good idea, although many of my clients don't like it, is if you raise any way that you walk to just above head height, and every so often just go around and clip anything that's, you know, too low, because there's nothing worse than spending all day stooping, because you end up with, and I think this is part of my problem, because you end up pushing your head into your shoulders, and that creates obviously not a good situation. So that can create headaches and neck pain, and I think I do that. And while I'm here, another hidden danger is a rock. You see the rock here. That's it. Now, the reason this is a danger here is because we come along from here, I come along, and often we turn here to go and pile stuff behind there, because this is where we lose stuff. I'm gonna have to cut that up at some point. So this, especially if it's wet, and even while it's dry, it can still be slippy. It is the pivot point to go round here, so you have to be extra careful, and it's doubly dangerous because it's also on a slope, and a wet slope. So not only are you avoiding the hawthorn, which has got thorns, the rose, you're also having to watch the ground and up in the air at the same time, so it's a very difficult thing. So you need to know the land that you're on, and don't ever rush anything, because you can guarantee that the day you rush is the day that an accident happens. Now, one of the other things is steps, wet steps, or even just patios. Certainly patios of Yorkstone, when wet, they become very slippery. And if, like me, you're in places where wellies are the only footwear that you should be wearing, because work boots just don't do it, then you have to watch your step as you walk, quite literally watch your step. But the way to walk on wet surfaces, slippy surfaces, is toe heel. You put your toe down first, then the heel, because that gives you more control. Because if you slip with your toe, at least you can put your heel down. But if you slip with your heel, you haven't got time to put your toe down. That's the theory behind it. But another hidden danger is what's on the land in the terms of insects. One of the worst ones here is ticks, because they can carry diseases, and horseflies. So while people often, especially in suburban gardens, are thinking of gardening with clothes off, I have to put extra clothes on to protect myself from horsefly bites. And believe me, they will bite through waterproof and another layer of clothing, or even 3 layers of clothing. So very often the only thing that's uncovered is my neck. So I come away and I've got a horsefly bite necklace. They can be quite dodgy for some people. I've seen people swell up and go bright pink, their whole body, quite literally. But they descend on me as soon as I get here. Now, another hidden danger is electric cables that aren't buried deep enough. I found this out one day as I just whacked the spade in because I was digging. You put your spade in, you put some force in, and it hit something quite solid. So I assumed it was a root. So I hit it a bit harder, and some of the soil pinged up and showed me that there was an electric cable that was that deep, 4 inches, which is basically what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 times higher than the recommended height to bury an electric cable. So luckily I was unharmed, but that's something to be aware of, as well as knowing where outlet pipes, inlet pipes, all kinds of pipes are buried and go, because you don't really want to damage one of those. It doesn't make for great customer relations. Another not quite hidden danger, but another There are always some plants which you don't know the name of until you come across them. What I've just shown you there was lesser hogweed, which can splatter if you strim it, and the sap will give you blistered rash that only appears after 2 days. I'm assuming that people watching this know what nettles are. And also another one is cleavers. It's sticking to me, which can cause rashes. Certainly if you're picking up and you've just got gloves on, and you've got bare arms or even a little bit of skin showing, you'll notice later on that you've got a rashed wrist. Also ivy, if you're anything that you do with ivy, certainly if you're being with it a lot, like pulling it off a wall or something, that gives off little spores of dust that get into your throat and cause reactions in some people that can, you know, if you don't normally snore at night, it can end up making you snore. Then there are the flying dangers of, as I said, horseflies, but not only that, there are insects that I don't know what they are and they get me, and I never see them until I see the results of their handiwork later. But there is also wasps, not so much bees, but be careful, you can find bees' nests anywhere, certainly in compost, and you can also find grass snakes in compost, which I have, and also hornets. And they don't tend to harm you, but the buzzing and the size of this thing can be quite frightening. But like I said, bees don't tend to sting you. They'll kind of get out of the way, unless you constantly disturb them and disturb the nest, in which case they may start to attack you. But mostly you're all right. Just be aware. I'm sure most people who work in gardens get to know their garden and are more aware of plants and nature than most people. So just work according to the conditions. So if it's wet, do work a bit slower, because wet slippy mud on a slope is not nice. Even wet slippy mud on a flat isn't nice. But also you've got hot goggles on when you're doing strimming or some other machine, and they steam up every 2 minutes. You just have to stop and clear them. That's all you can do. So be safe. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Ta-da.